Thanks, everybody. So it's a little different being up here. I'm also used to doing, presentations related to a project I've been working on or something like that. So it's a little different to talk with such broad parameters. So let's talk about Crossroads. I don't know about you guys, but so many things popped into my mind with the word Crossroads. And so this is going to be a little bit of a reflection of that and a glimpse into how my brain works a little bit. But I know for me, one thing that popped into my head immediately when Regina asked me was a song. So I'm curious what you might say is your pop culture crossroads. I think this probably breaks down via generational lines a little bit, but mine was the third one. That might give my age away a little bit, but Bone Thugs-n-Harmony from the 90s. So yeah, that song is running in my brain right now as we're talking. So let's look at the definition of crossroads. Always a good place to start. We've got an intersection of two or more roads, a community located at a crossroads, and a crucial point where a decision must be made. I think we usually go, sorry, I'm talking so fast. Thank you. The third one I think was the immediate first one that everyone thought of. And I will say there is a pretty famous crossroads that came to mind for me immediately when I thought about that definition. Is everyone familiar with Trevi Fountain? If you ever studied a Romance language, you might or might not have made the connection to the word Trevi. It's Trevi, which is three roads. It's a crossroad of three roads. And it holds a special place in my heart because I studied in college in Rome for a semester and lived right around the corner, walked past this fountain multiple times a day. And it was such a great experience for me, which kind of brings me to rewind a little bit because, that was in my 20s, so I can rewind just a little bit to talk about a few other crossroads. Oh, I will show you. This is a photo I took with my old school film camera, because there weren't digital cameras back then. And there's me. So I grew up in Central Arkansas. I went to Bryant High School. I don't know if anybody knows it. It was a little blip on the radar back then, but now it's apparently a sports powerhouse. When I was a high school student, I was in band, and people came to football games to watch the band, and they left after we performed. So it's a different world. But yeah, so one of the first major crossroads in my life was the decision to come to the U of A as a freshman and to study architecture, which is what got me to Rome. So I would say that was, one of my first kind of big crossroads in my life. And one term, speaking of architecture, that comes to mind is vernacular architecture. I know there's a couple other architects in the room, but that's kind of, that's architecture that's tied very closely to a place and responds very closely to a place. And when I think about my journey and the crossroads in my journey, they're very tied to place. They're very tied to Fayetteville in this presentation especially. So let's go through some of my major career crossroads. So I graduated from the University of Arkansas in the year 2000, which was a big economic downturn. It was hard to find a job, honestly. And I had some connections in Little Rock. I could have easily gone back to Little Rock. And that would have been, looking at a crossroads, probably the straight ahead version. But I felt really clearly I was supposed to be here. And so it took some sacrifice. I was real poor for several months, finally found a job and had to drive all the way to Bella Vista for about a year from Fayetteville. But I know it was the right choice. So that's my first, I would say, right turn, maybe, in this journey of life. So I got my license. Oh, that's a typo. Sorry. I got my license in 2003, which for architects, you have to go through a series of tests and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that became a first crossroads where I could have made a turn, because suddenly when you're licensed, you get job offers from other people. But again, I felt really clearly I was meant to be here. So stayed straight on that crossroads. So then for 15 years, I worked at a small office of a large corporate firm and had a wide variety of experiences. I got to work on military bases and do big master planning things and work on real interesting facilities for the federal government and for the airports and different things like that. Worked with a great group of people and learned a lot then. I have to admit, design-wise, it wasn't that exciting. And I was always a little disappointed that I couldn't take my friends to go see what I'd been working on. I could take my dad because he's retired military. But other than that, there's not a lot from that time in my career that I could kind of show to people that I knew. So in 2015, came to a crossroads. It was actually a little bit of a dead end or a T because the office that I worked at was blanket shut down quickly, suddenly. So crossroads there. So a little bit of like, I can't continue straight forward, so I got to turn one way or the other. But at that point, I got to work for a medium-sized Arkansas-based firm here in Fayetteville, and things changed a lot for me. I got to start working on a lot more local projects that I'm really invested in. Fun fact, the first project I got to work on was Skylight Cinema in Bentonville, Arkansas. It's one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. I'm a big movie fan, and I love watching movies and going to the movies and to get to understand all the guts of a movie theater and know how it goes together. It was pretty fun. And yes, I take my friends there a lot. I have friends that come in from out of town, out of state, out of the country, and they let me go up to the projector room, and it's pretty great. I love it. And also got to do a lot of other stuff in downtown Bentonville, including Lady Slipper, if anyone's been there. And then also got to work on some fun things like the Razorback Stadium expansion. I got to go on top of the Jumbotron. I mean, how many people can say that? Not very many. So yeah, that was a great time. So then suddenly, another crossroads, but this was an unexpected, could have continued on, but I got an offer from a small Arkansas-based firm that wanted to start a new office here. And it was a bit of a leap for me because not only did they want me to do architecture and design, they wanted me to branch into business development. And the me that's standing in front of you right now couldn't have done that a few years ago before this. And so it coincided really well for me with some real good internal development to where I felt like I could branch into business development, being more in the public face, interacting with people in a different way. And so it was a great opportunity and learned a lot the first year and a half or so, but there were some personal changes for one key member of this group, and for a very small group, that changed the company a lot. And so after 2 years, I was let go. So another crossroads that was totally unexpected. But at the same time, I realized, I've changed a little bit. I don't know what I want to do now. Like, maybe I do want to be an architect. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to do something different. So took a little time to really consider what that might look like. Looked at all the many different roads. Think Trevi Fountain, 6 different options. I felt like I had a million options. And as a professional, I have never thought, I want to start my own firm. A lot of people who are architects especially think like that from early in their career. That was not me, but that is where I ended up. It was clear that I checked out different paths. It was clear that those other paths weren't the right ones. And so starting Gemstone Design Studio in 2003 is where I'm at right now. And one thing that was a little bit unexpected was having a lot more freedom and flexibility to engage in some more community and volunteer work. So really quickly, I'll tell you a few things that I have been doing the past couple years. Urban Land Institute is a real estate development network organization. It has people from architects and engineers to investors to city officials, huge spectrum of people, professionals working in real estate development. And I was asked to be a committee chair, and now I oversee a total of 4 initiatives with them, and 3 that I'm super proud of. One is the Real Estate Diversity Initiative. It is a class for women and people of color to learn the full development process. And so we have a class graduating on Monday, and we will actually be starting a new cohort in the fall. Urban Plan, some of you guys here are familiar with. Urban Plan is a gamified city planning competition for students or adults, and we had an outing a couple months ago. It was really fun. I love it. I got to bring the program into Haas Hall recently to a high school classroom, but we do adult groups and also student groups. And then the one that I'm really excited about right now that is just getting started is called Fayetteville Foundations. So we're providing education and capacity building to 6 local churches in Northwest Arkansas to help discover possibilities for building affordable housing. So there's a lot of focus on housing right now, and there's some untapped resources in the form of undeveloped or underdeveloped land, and a lot of alignment with the mission of existing churches who want to help serve their community in different ways. So this is a really exciting program that is getting started on May 1st. In addition, last summer, I was named to the Fayetteville Housing Crisis Task Force. So that has been, that was something I was interested in and reading a little bit about, but had really just scratched the surface. But the months so far of research and discussion with my other task force members has shown me so much more about how things work together, how many different factors are at play, and how important it is to lend a voice, and how important our local government, whether it's elected official or volunteering for different committees at your city, can really shape your community. So that's one kind of trail. So I'm going to rewind just a little bit more and talk about Northwest Arkansas and the fact that I've been here for 30 years, which kind of shocked me when I said it a couple months ago for the first time. And I was like, whoa, I just said that. Like I said, I came as a college freshman in 1995, and it's changed a lot around here. Fayetteville went from 50,000 people to 100,000 people. Northwest Arkansas broadly went from under 300,000 to over 600,000 people. So, some of you guys have been here or not, but a lot has changed. So, for example, I-49 in the tunnel, XNA, this building, even the old part of the building didn't exist whenever I first came to Fayetteville, Crystal Bridges, the Greenway. In fact, Wi-Fi, social media, smartphones, and streaming media didn't exist. So the world has changed a lot in the 30 years that I've been here, but I'm really grateful to have been able to see things unfold the way that they have and the way that they are unfolding. So we are, as a community in Northwest Arkansas, at a bit of a crossroads. I know I mentioned housing. That is a key item. And it's something that is kind of at the center of a lot of the volunteer work that I'm doing right now. So just a few quick stats about this crossroads. Approximately 1,000 people move to this area every month. That's a lot. And that's the net. So even with people leaving. Our population is expected to reach 1 million by 2050 for the region. Interestingly, the makeup of households has been shifting. So 68% of households in Northwest Arkansas are 2 people or less with no children. I'm kind of curious, who lives in a household that fits that description, 2 people or less with no children? I mean, that's roughly 68% if I was doing quick math. So the interesting thing is that 75% of residential land in Northwest Arkansas is zoned for single-family housing, larger homes on larger lots, and they almost always have 3 to 5 bedrooms. And we do need that. I'm not saying we don't need that, but there's a lot of us in this room that would be too much for us, and it contributes to unaffordability, right? So seeing that mismatch is kind of one of the big kind of red flags around here. And it's not just here in Northwest Arkansas, it's all over the country. Interestingly, also, the current way that we build larger homes on larger lots, if we continue in that pattern, it would take 8.2 square miles per year of our land to meet that growth. And that just eats up the things that we love about Northwest Arkansas, the beautiful green spaces, parks, access to, our rivers and our lakes. So thanks to Flintlock Lab and Allie Thurman for this info. I've seen her speak on it a few times, and it's become something I repeat frequently to people. Another thing that's becoming more of a hot topic, we're kind of just on the edge of it, is infrastructure constraints. In fact, today, ULI is hosting a seminar called Infrastructure at the Crossroads in Rogers, talking about wastewater. So yeah, we don't want to use up our land. We also have other natural resources, water, even things like transit and roads. Like, these are all things that have to be optimized, designed correctly for what's coming. And in that sense, we will all feel the effects of these crossroads, whether people make decisions or don't, whether they make the right decisions. And so I just wanted to encourage people to get educated about what's going on and lend your voice, speak into, understand the why, the how, and what you can do, and do what you can where you can. As an architect, I have a certain element of access and certain level of education that gives me some unique opportunities, but anyone can read articles, can talk to your city council member, ask them why they vote for things or against things, and try to understand what's going on and bring to light maybe your personal situation or the situations of others in your circles, so that we can all do this together. Because I know I don't want to lose the things that I love about Northwest Arkansas, and this is how we help with that. So let's reflect again on our definition of crossroads. As I reflect on my own personal journey, one thing that came to mind is a verse from the Bible: stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths, ask where the good way is and walk in it. That's from Jeremiah 6. And it made me think about the wisdom of those who have gone before me. And that applies in my life personally. Anytime I'm at a crossroads in my life and I have to make a decision, I'm going to look for those people who are wise, who've gone before me, who have things that I don't have seen things I haven't seen. And that also applies to these regional issues. I hope that you guys will look for the wise people who are doing the good things and get behind them. Ask them why they do what they do and how they do what they do. So I also thought about that second one, the small community located at such a crossroads. That's been really key for me for all of these crossroads moments in my life, is to make sure that I'm surrounded by people who I can trust, people who know the deep desires of my heart and can help me see if there's something I'm missing, see if there's something I don't see about myself that others might see, and see the wisdom ahead. And also, as I think about where I'm at right now and look back at all those crossroads moments, those weird turns sometimes, there was no bypass. There was no shortcut. There's no way I could have gotten from where I was 10 years ago, 20, 30 years ago to where I'm at now if I wouldn't have taken some kind of weird turns at times. But I'm so thankful, so grateful to be where I'm at right now. And I look forward to coming upon the next crossroads, whatever it might be. So I realized I talked about some things that probably a lot of people are curious about. I'm glad to take a few questions. Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot written in the last, few years in Northwest Arkansas media just about the housing issues we have here, and it seems like there's kind of a coalition forming, between Groundwork and Northwest Arkansas Council and ULI and all that other stuff. These organizations that are in the real estate kind of space to tackle it. I was just kind of curious if you could give us your own assessment of what's the current state of this regional approach that's taking shape. Is it something that is ultimately dependent on federal funding, or is it something that we can really chart? We have the capacity to chart a positive course forward on our own.
Yeah. Something I say a lot in the context of the Housing Task Force is there's no silver bullet. We hope there's silver buckshot. So if y'all don't know, buckshot has a lot of little things that, because there's not one single answer. Like, we really do need organizations like Groundwork and ULI to work together. We do need federal funding, but we also need to empower local citizens to maybe take advantage of some new legislation that was passed to allow for accessory dwelling units at any home across the state. So if you own a home, you now have the legal ability to convert a portion of your existing home, do an addition, or do a freestanding building that could become a second living unit for one of those small households of 1 or 2 people. So yeah, that's where I come down to, like, we need it all. And I'm really grateful to be a part of ULI because it does seem to be a place where people from all different kind of roles within the process are coming together. Like I said, they're hosting that seminar today about infrastructure. And like, it feels like we're on the cusp of something, and there really are people who are trying and who know what to do. And there's an element of just getting everyone to work together to do what they can. That's my perspective. Yeah.
Have you seen any efforts around mixed-use buildings and higher density and more walkability compared to
Yeah, I will say at the task force and in the work that ULI is doing, the term we like to use is gentle density. So the aspect of recognizing that those sprawl patterns, they cost our cities money, they lead to isolated communities, and by building gently more density into our existing kind of footprints of areas, we really take advantage of infrastructure that's already there. We don't have to build new water lines and new streets if you're adding units of housing into existing neighborhoods. So that's definitely a big push in all the circles that I move in with this. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. So that is the goal, is to gently increase our density. Like I said, if every homeowner in Fayetteville added an accessory dwelling unit, that's a lot of housing units. That really helps make up our deficit. And that's not something that everyone's going to do. But even if 20% of people take that risk and do it, what a great thing for your community and for you as a homeowner, and maybe for your family member or a friend. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Do you have some, like, for people who are maybe not as deeply into the space or professionals in this space, do you have some recommended reading or like a favorite podcast, or hey, like, if you want to be aware in this world, here's some good points of entry?
Yeah, Groundwork was mentioned. I've gotten to do some work with Groundwork. Their focus is housing for the workforce. And they have brought in a lot of great speakers to Northwest Arkansas, and they post videos of their events on their website. There's some great ones on there. The title of one is Homelessness is a Housing Problem. There's one by a guy named Bruce Katz that's it's called The New Localism, talking about the importance of local government. Anything on that website, if you could take an hour and watch some of those lectures. The presentation from Allie Quinlan that I took some of the numbers from is on there. The State of Living in Northwest Arkansas. So yeah, highly recommend checking out those things. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you see, talk about your volunteer work, how do you see your work, your company, Gemstone, being helpful in your community?
Yeah, so one thing, as a sole practitioner, I have a lot of flexibility to take smaller projects. When I've worked for larger companies, it's hard to justify with kind of the overhead. People pay rent for offices and you have to pay admin people. And even I don't make a ton of money, I'll be honest, on my business. That's one thing. I spend a lot of time on my volunteer work, but I love providing the opportunity for maybe someone who's never worked with an architect to actually be able to do it. Like, I just finished a design, getting ready to do construction drawings for a very compact home for someone, 1,000 square feet. And I'm really proud of things like that. I also got to do I love being able to be to offer other design services too. I've done logos and websites and things like that. So there's a little cocktail bar that I designed in Springdale that's under construction right now, and I was able to also do their logo and website. So to be able to kind of provide that kind of entry into the design world, I know it can be intimidating, especially for women, small business owners. Like design, construction, all of it is very male dominated, but I've been living in this space for a long time, and I love to be able to help people get to accomplish what they want to accomplish.
I'll just add that like Jessica does a great job with connecting like small developers and connecting the piece between like the housing crisis task force, like architects, and small developers or like landowners that want to go do something.
Thank you. Yeah, so that ULI received some grant funding to help with it. We went through an application process. There are currently 6 churches who have been matched for the program. 3 are in Washington County, 3 in Benton County. And the goal is to help these churches understand what the options are. So we know that there's going to be a lot of variety. Like one of the churches is here in South Fayetteville. One church is in downtown Bentonville. So that's kind of 2 extremes in terms of their local context and maybe their membership. And so they're going to probably have a totally different outcomes, but the target is affordable housing. And so to be able to work with each of these churches to help understand the assets that they have, the ways that they can move forward. You know, as a church, you don't have to necessarily be the one carrying all the financial burden. You can partner with different groups. You can raise funding. You can do traditional lending. There's also lots of options to convert unused space, maybe to fill in. Maybe you have a parking lot that's very underutilized, and that's all you have. That's still enough to help a handful of households. So that's the goal of this program. Is we start, like I said, in May, and by I think October, November, each church should have a feasible proposal and an idea of how they can move forward. And we'll have partnering events too, and hopefully they can make connections, because all our teaching sessions are led by local professionals that are doing these kinds of things. We hope that this will allow for some real organic relationship building and actual teams for these churches to start moving forward. Yeah, we hope that it'll be recurring depending on funding and interest. So if you guys have any interest in any of the things I've been talking about, feel free to reach out.
I'm sorry, I have to.
Yeah.